Hey everyone, Victor here back again with V Coffee with Experts. And today I just learned that we have uh, a guest that worked on one of my favorite video games, Fable 2, out of the Xbox 360. Highly recommend you to check it out. But this is not going to be a video game conversation yet. It can be in the future. Jeremy Chatelaine is here with us, the founder of QuickMail. Jeremy, my friend, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me, Victor. Appreciate.
No, of course. The honor is all mine. Super happy to have you here. Funny story, you all. We actually met Jeremy because we were outreaching to companies, and Jeremy, as I said, founder of QuickMail, replied with, "Buy QuickMail." So this is the first sentence that I'm gonna share here with you. Take a look at QuickMail. The links will be down in the description. It's a really good software, and I'm not saying this just to kiss Jeremy's butt. Uh, as a salesperson, I do feel like this is a really nice piece of tool of software of tech that we can have. But alas, Jeremy will tell us more about it. Jeremy, the thing that people always wonder whenever any podcast starts is who is the other guy, right? So who are you? Where do you come from? If you want to talk about it, how did you get into Quick Mail? I know that you had your own career before, but please let's share it with whoever's watching us. Which, by the way,
Sure.
thank you for the audience.
No, thank you for having me again. Um, there is always a short and a long version. I'm gonna try to do it in the middle. You're touching a little bit about video games. That's actually what I grew up thinking I'll be doing for the rest of my
Same.
life. I thought, I think I started around like 14 years old saying like, okay, I had my Amiga at the time. I'm not sure if your listener
I know,
remember
I
that.
I know what it is. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I had one of those, and I'm like, gee, I want to be a video game developer in the future and have my own company by 29. I did end up being a video game developer. I did work for like big studios like Lionhead, Electronic Arts, Ubisoft. I was fired from Ubisoft. That was so funny.
Ooh, we
And
don't like Ubisoft here, so don't worry. We got you. We got you.
that's fine. There was some internal problems and politics anyway. I've been fired there. And Argonaut Software, who actually did went bust, but they did some cool stuff on Nintendo and stuff.
I see.
Yeah, so I grew up in France, mostly. I came from Paris, did my university studies in Orleans, which is the middle of France. Then very quickly, then I moved to the video game as soon as I could and expatriated myself to UK, where, that was where the best studios were at the time. That's how I entered Lionhead and worked there
Okay.
for some time. And then moved to, after 7 years in London, I moved to banking or trading, actually electronic trading. So that was fun. Finance, basically. Move back in Switzerland when I had kids. And there it was like great, but it was job market was boring. So working for big banks is no fun. And so I decided to create my own business, and I was lucky enough to succeed.
Wow, and the first question that I'm gonna ask about this, about the quick mail, about you founding it, did you ever got in touch with your video game peers, the people that you were working with? Because as far as I can think of, Electronic Arts and Ubisoft don't need outreach email, right? But smaller, but
Different
smaller,
industry,
yes,
definitely.
different industry, of course.
Well, Victor, you
But
have to think that I actually left the video game industry for 6, 7 years before starting QuickMail. So
oh,
to me, I
so
was already in a different industry. The
yeah.
page of video game was long term.
Okay, it makes a lot of sense. But then let's talk about quick mail. So you told us your career, you mentioned how it all started, but why email outreach in a software? Why quick mail? Why not, I don't know, a finance tech, a video
That's a
game
very good
tech?
question.
What brought you
Actually,
to the sales?
yeah, that's a very good question. I actually started in finance. So basically, I was having my 9 to 5 job, boring enough so that I had like enough time to actually work on something else. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to create a business, and my idea was to create a business for financial planners in Australia. Well, I was living in Europe, and I wanted it to be the first thing in my day where having like my premium juice, most energy, whatever. And I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to work 2 hours on my business before starting the day. And
Okay.
at that time, the only business that is open in the world are Asia. And so I figured like, hey, I'm not good enough to speak Japanese yet. So how about, I try to reach out to Australia. And that's really how it happened. I started with LinkedIn automation while doing it manually. I think I did an automation with Firefox and Selenium at the time, which basically just open the Firefox and do the things that you want. But after
Yes.
3 weeks, I was banned from LinkedIn. They made me like tick a box and promise I'm not going to reach out to people I don't know. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to pivot to email. And so I started with email, starting the creating a small script to actually send the email, send the follow up if people don't reply, and things like that. And that could have been the end of it. It shrunk my time from from an hour and 30 minutes managing the email, who I'm outreaching to just like 30 seconds. I'm like, okay,
Wow.
great. Now I can focus on just doing that.
Well,
And that could
yeah.
have been the end of it. But at that time, I was in entrepreneurial group. And so other people were complaining about the time it takes them to actually do email outreach. And I said, well, you could use my software if you want. And then I started using it and they started paying me. And I'm like, yeah, well, I guess I'm not going to serve the financial planners in Australia anymore. And that's really how it started.
Wow, that's actually a pretty good answer. Oh my God, what an amazing journey so far. Uh, whenever, especially in my situation, I've been in sales since 2019. I use some tons of softwares, different ways to outreach, different ways to get together with people. And what I can say as the buyer, in the buyer's perspective, is we have so much options right now in terms of tools and tech
Sure.
stacks, right? If I don't like Salesforce, I can go to HubSpot. If I don't like HubSpot, I can go to High Level. If I don't like High Level, and the list goes on for CRMs, for outreaching purposes, for AIs, and everything else. Right now, in this day and age, how are you putting yourself out there? How do you make sure that people get to know Jeremy, get to know Quick Mail, and make it work?
That's a great question because that's definitely not my key strength. So I come from an engineering background. So for me, it's all about the product. And it's important to mention that when I started, it was 2014. So
Okay.
basically, there were like two competitors
Yeah, it's
we
true.
basically all started at the same time. There was Outreach.io, I think there was Reply.io as well, and there were us. And then since then, year after year, you had like more people coming in, and now you have like a plethora of like different solutions. Even some are like never heard of.
Yes,
So
true.
increasingly, it's important to do marketing. And the thing for is, I'm a product more than I'm a marketing person. And so everything we do is to try to do a better product, not necessarily to do, better at marketing. And so we come up in this situation where we have a really good product that not necessarily a lot of people know. But what makes me wake up on the morning and be happy to work on QuickMail is to effectively deliver more value for our existing customers. Acquiring new customers is not necessarily something that turned me on. So that works against me in terms of growing the business, but at the same time, I'm happy to wake up and to work on QuickMail. So
Well, makes a lot of sense, and especially in regards to you're not looking right now to get more customers. You want to focus on the customer base that you already have. Is there a reason for this? Like, did you see a trend in the market where your new customers were had a low maturity to use the tool? Um, Anything in particular that it's keeping you from being turned on by having new customers?
oh no, honestly, like it's not like we are not looking for new customers.
Of
Like I
course,
do
you need
welcome
money.
them, and
Yeah.
yeah, we have enough. We are profitable, so that's okay. But we
Mhm.
do look for new customers. The thing for is like this is not something I enjoy doing.
That
Right,
makes
I much
sense.
enjoy doing like creating new value or like new features for customers that brings them more value. That's really how I do things. So the marketing journey has been a long and painful journey for me, and it's still undergoing.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I was taking a look at QuickMail's tool overall. And again, everybody who's watching here, if you are especially somebody in a sales facing job, do take a look. I promise you it's worth it. But I was taking a look at QuickMail and notice how big the numbers are, you sent over, at least your customers managed to book more than 1 million appointments using QuickMail, right?
Oh yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
and we have a formula, not a formula, but we have an environment that allow us to grow such numbers. We have different strategies, you have different markets, different personas, and everything else. So, especially today, if I just met you and I was gonna like, hey, Jeremy, uh, sales emails, outreach emails, what do you believe make them attractive or effective? Like, when do you think a cold email works in a tech sales scenario, for example?
Okay, that's a vague question in a sense that it's very broad.
Oh, yeah.
So I can try to split that into multiple parts. The first thing is obviously you have deliverability, and deliverability is making sure your email actually just lands, on people's inbox.
Hmm.
Now, I believe if I look at the stats that we solved that already last year, so to me it's last year's problem. Everyone who is complaining right now about deliverability is probably not having deliverability issues, or at least they can come to us and they won't have. What they will have, however, is problem with replies.
Yeah.
And that comes up with more than just deliverability. That comes up with the actual list selection, like who they're actually going after. Do those people actually really need them?
Hmm.
And what message do you target them with? Those are the key cornerstone that never really changed over the year, but now are becoming like super crucial. Like I keep saying, I think I've been here like for a decade, so I've been seeing how the market actually evolved, and the floor kept raising slowly and slowly and slowly. And at the moment, at least last year, the solution, quote unquote, was just to send more volume, right?
True.
Turns out it's not working. And so, I mean, I got some great examples about like you have an account that is super high volume, like sending like 60K emails every day. And then you have another one that sends only 200 emails every day. And the one sending 200 emails every day has got more replies than the one sending 62K, emails every day. And to me, that's the future. That's exactly what it looks like, is that you have to be laser focused on who's my ICP, ideal customer profile. Like who do I really target so they will have a higher chance of being interested in what I have to offer. And then is how do I communicate them something that is of value to them and making it less risky to actually say yes to. So a lot of people are still having the mentality of selling the product in their email. What you should sell is the meeting that will then potentially sell the product. And if you're still not getting reply, try to sell a 5 minutes video that will then sell the meeting, that will then sell the product. Like always, like try to come back so there is less risk on the recipient side. I think right now there's a lot of inbox fatigue from a lot of people. We receive like so many offers right on live that it's hard to stand out. And
Yeah.
so again, that's what I mean. The floor's been raised.
Yeah, it's true. You mentioned about volume, and one of the things that I think when talking about volume is also the sequence size. Because before I
Sure.
remember when I joined, we were talking about 12 emails in a sequence. You
That's
have to
over.
do four breakups emails after six follow-ups in two
That's right.
days.
I do remember that
And
time.
exactly, and I can see, especially since 2 years from now, I can see the market change, and I see sales leaders talking about, the less the better, the shorter the message, the better. We are also in this trend of making sure that instead of emails like this, we go to emails like this.
Of course.
But
Less
then,
less investment of time on your recipient. That's definitely the
yes,
goal.
and that's what I was gonna ask you. I know the answer, but I want people to hear this from your mouth. When we talk about touch points nowadays, a sequence, what do you see that's working for your quick mail customers? What do you think they're doing right now in terms of sheer volume of sequences?
Instead of number of touches, I think three is more than enough these days. But
I
the
agree.
important thing when you're actually following is you have to be very careful about like doing an intelligent follow-up.
Hmm.
So those follow-ups where it's like, hey, did you read my email? They're like annoying.
Hmm.
No one wants to receive them. So every follow-up should have value. And so let me give you an example. If your solution, for example, is selling things that are like, let's say, security stuff. So the first point is like it's super, secure, and the second point is it's fast. And a third point is like it's super easy, user friendly. I would love to see that in each of those follow-up, like touching one of those points, right? Don't put all those 3 points into one email, just split them into 3 emails. That's how
Okay.
you actually, follow up, more intelligently.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And saying wow just again because I am already tired of building long-lasting touch point sequences. I'm already like after the fifth email, I don't have anything else to add. So it just comes to a point where you're trying to get their attention out of nothing,
Yeah, but
right?
think
And
about this, Victor. If you're really laser focused, on your prospect, you only have like let's say 100 to work with.
true.
Think about how you're going to think. If you have 100, then you can't just like blast, spray and pray. That's things is over anymore.
Yeah.
So instead, you're gonna think like, okay, how can I touch this person maybe on multiple channels, right? Maybe they're active on LinkedIn, not so much on their email. So
Hmm.
you're going to send, LinkedIn invitation. So
Hmm.
that's why actually, multi-channel sequences works best at the moment because you
Okay.
basically have more chances to touch them on different channels, the one they're active on. Could be Twitter as well, could be, WhatsApp, whatever, like Facebook.
What do you think of cold calling?
Cold calling is making a comeback, actually.
Hmm.
The reason why cold email was so popular is because it worked, took less time, and quite frankly was less scary than actually just picking up the phone.
It is.
Turns out because it becomes harder to automate, although I know that's happening at the moment, but because it's harder to automate cold calling, then people just say like, okay, you got more investment of your time, so therefore I may be, taking more time to listen to you.
Hmm.
So I don't think that's going to work very well with AI calls,
No,
or as
no,
soon
not gonna
as
work.
people are going to be submerged by AI calls, that's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I
And then
agree.
we'll be back to it's a
It's
cycle.
a
We'll be
cycle.
back to email.
It's a cycle. I agree with you. And I'm already listening and I'm already reading about sending letters,
Yeah,
real
half
letters,
yeah half
mail
names.
letters. So yeah, it is indeed a cycle. Well, just because we're mentioning this topic right now, what do you see of the future of B2B sales, especially now with AI? What is your prediction for 2025 and 26?
I don't like really to play the future game. Like I prefer to actually play what's working.
Mm-hmm.
What can we actually do? Like I prefer to do the Henry Ford stuff. Like you look at all the horse and you say like, man, there must be a better way of doing this, right? Rather than
Mm-hmm.
predicting that in the future we're probably like teletransport each other. It's like, no, let's just invent a car. And I think I play more this game. And you're mentioning AI. I think it's going to have a really tremendous impact on many industries, including our ones. I don't believe in an industry where everything is driven by AI like automatically per se yet, but I do believe in enhancement through AI. And so that's some of the thing that we're thinking and doing at QuickMail. How could we actually give you the tools to actually help you doing a better job? So we have things. So I've been adding a few AI stuff recently. One of them being like when you sign off with your domain, then we will automatically create some campaigns. And so we'll look at your website, we'll figure out like what is this website, like who is trying to communicate to with this website? What are some of the unique selling points? And then with that, we are doing you an A/B testing campaign already with like 3 different things. Actually, to just get you started, because sometimes it's easier to start when you got something.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
We're doing a lot of things around those lines. We're also doing like draft with AI when you're actually replying people, so you can actually just build your own prompt in order to sort of like reply automatically to the email, and then just try to move you toward a call if that's what
Mm-hmm.
you're looking toward. The summary has been super helpful for me. Like all those things that actually help me being more productive. I think like AI is massive advantage at the moment. Yeah, we like to like for example when we have what we call opportunities. It's basically doesn't matter how many inboxes you have, they all come into that one page. And then on that page, then you have like a small summary of the interaction that you had with this person. And that proved to be really a big time saver for me because instead of actually going into this opportunity, having to read the whole thing to remember what to say, I just basically the AI just summarized it into one-liners, and
Yeah.
as well as the thing that is remaining to be done, like action remainings. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to do that, and so I do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So big fan of that. I think there will be more of that. Can we go to sales activity that are done automatically? Yes, I think so. Can we have the AI doing automatically everything and with no human supervision? I don't think we're there yet.
Agree.
It may not, but I think right now, in terms of efficiency, AI is really a cool tool to work with.
Yeah, sure. Not only in sales, right? But I try to come up with ideas to help myself with AI across the day, across the whole day. So, especially in sales, we here in the SEO market, we're talking a lot about AI generated content and how bad it is. When we think about sales, AI is also generating content, right? And
Hmm.
if you have a
Correct.
bad prompt or if you have a bad AI, you're just going to receive those long ass emails that I was talking about with hyphens that are connected to the words, and you know that it is AI written, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do what you said about AI is not ready to do the work by itself. It needs us to take a look first, right? And I do also believe that instead of only focusing on how AI can help, we need to focus on how we can work better with AI ourselves.
Yeah.
You know,
In
becoming
fact,
better prompters, for example.
yes, that's one way. The way we actually leverage AI to a level that it wasn't possible before is to solve deliverability. So one of the things with
Okay.
deliverability is if you're sending always the same email, like more or less, except you're changing a few parts of it, then
Mm,
usually the spam filters are clever enough to pick it up. And
okay.
so you will have problems with deliverability. The way we solve that at QuickMail is we have what we call reword with AI. And basically we're using the email you're supposedly sending, we're using AI to rephrase it without losing the meaning of it and then send it for each of them. And so you end up with completely unique messages every time you send. And that's a game changer, and that's how we
It
solve
is.
deliverability in 2024. So every email you're sending is different with AI, and
Okay.
yet
Well,
it
that
says the same thing.
and even because sometimes the same thing is all we can say at first, right? Sometimes the tool that we have can only be said in such an amount of different words that I see the value of this. So that's why, it's AI is here to help. We love that everybody I think that goes to this podcast really likes, and nobody's afraid of, becoming the Terminator or something like that. But it is always good to make sure and to understand that it's not ready to do the work by itself. I have some last questions for you, which will kind of
Sure.
change. It's going to be an abrupt change, but it's the first time I'm going to ask in this podcast. So you're a podcaster yourself, right? You have your own podcast. You have the Cody Mayor Outreach podcast, right?
Yeah, I'm having
Uh,
fun with my friend. He has a lead generation agency. I have the software that serves lead generation agencies. So we just like podcast every week.
and how has it evolved since its launch? Like how did it start? What do you see today of the podcast? Even if it's just a funny thing to do,
Well, yeah, so you know quite a lot. Like you have to keep in mind that we've been doing it for 7 years. So it's not our
it's a long
first
time.
rodeo, and we
No.
were doing it like every week. So we have like almost like 400 episodes
Yeah.
right now. And at the beginning, the first ones are horrible. It's just basically was every minute of audio production was like 16 minutes of work behind the scene because we were
Okay.
actually just scripting every word and so on. It was just like a nightmare to do. We say like, okay, we can't carry on like that. We have to change. And so we changed to different formats. And the latest formats, we try to put a timer of 10 minutes because we do love exchanging ideas. So we like to keeps us like, on the clock. And so we do a 10 minutes based on one simple questions or one simple topic. And then we go at it. So before the meeting, before the podcast, we catch up on some stuff and say, hey, wouldn't that be great to actually just talk about this? And so then we record and stuff. So that's really becoming more to me a way of catching up with a really good friend. And I think it shows like we have a lot of fun during the episodes, and our listener knows about that. So I'm
Yeah.
lucky they indulge us, to be honest, and I can keep doing it. But at the same time, we're delivering a lot of value, we hope.
Yeah, that's the thing, and having fun and delivering value. I think that's the main idea of our podcast as well. That's for me. I love doing this, just to talk to people, make sure that we get new ideas. Did it
Nice.
help with Quick Mail's brand awareness, for example? Like, did you receive leads out of the podcast?
Yeah, potentially, or like a few times. I don't use it as a lead generation. I don't use it
Hmm.
as an authority. I really honestly just use it as like keeping in touch with my friend and his experience as well. So, we experience stuff. He experienced stuff with his client. I experienced stuff with my, clients. And so we
Sure.
basically just share that. And then sometimes we brainstorm about some stuff. Sometimes we have water cooler episode where we're just like brainstorming. We may talk about the future and stuff like that. But I think overall that's the primary goal. I think the me having a book in 2015 was actually more impactful than the podcast itself.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think what's great with a podcast is it builds trust, and but it doesn't necessarily bring a lot of attraction. So like not a lot of people know about our podcast,
Hmm.
right? So I guess again that's the marketing effort that is not done.
It is a marketing effort that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Yeah, that's the exactly the same thoughts that I have. Now, to wrap this up, I don't want to take too much of your time. I already appreciate how much you shared with us today. I save my last questions usually in a way where it's a personal question, where I ask people for advice to young
Sure.
generations, to people who are watching. But you said something here that I think is gonna be, I'm not gonna say more interesting, but maybe can, help people who wanna do it just the way you did. You mentioned that you woke up at 5 a.m. in your
For
past when you were 4 a.m. when you were working in with the Australian region. How did you manage to wake up so early? That's a
Well, I went
pretty
to bed early. It's just as simple as that.
oh,
So my day routine for 8 months was weekends were off, by the way. So I didn't actually
okay.
do my routine on weekend because it needed to be sustainable. If you burn yourself out, then you're not going to go very far.
Yeah.
So every Monday to Friday, woke up at 4 a.m., work 2 hours on my business, then 6 o'clock, my kids and family wake up, and I work from 6 to 7 o'clock. I was just like getting breakfast, getting prepared. And then 8 to 5, I was working, my work, my
Hmm.
job. And then after that, it was like 2 hours for family, and I went to bed with the kids at 8.
Going to bed at 8. Okay, that's the secret. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
secret.
Instead of going to bed at midnight and waking up at 4 a.m.,
That's
right?
right.
Just
And
make sure to sleep earlier.
bear in mind that I'm one of those guys who actually work on the evening, but I wanted my premium juice, like when the brain is having like no noise of the day, like it's really like functioning. You wake up, you get a big glass of water, and then you have 2 hours to just work on your business and nothing else.
No, that's
That
it.
helps. That's what I call the premium juice, and
Premium
I got
juice.
that, and I helped.
Well, yeah, let's all have our morning premium juice then. That's
You
it.
know, you know
Amazing.
the funny thing, Victor, is like I can ask you like, what's the first thing you do in the morning? Because that should be the most important thing you do in a day,
Wow,
and it's
that's actually
hard,
yeah,
right?
yeah, because I'm sure that the first thing I do in the morning is not right now the most important thing that I should do, that I
Yeah,
could do, So it is food for
I'm
thought,
guilty
as they
too.
say.
Should do
Yeah,
marketing. I don't.
yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, that's the thing. I should work out, I should work out in the morning. I can't, especially right now, for those maybe watching in the future right now is we're in February. Portugal here, Germany, Switzerland. We're talking about this awful winter in Europe at the
Yep.
moment. I can't wake up early as a Brazilian, even though I want to work out, even though I want to see the sun, I still can't. I hope I can in the future. Maybe going to bed earlier, waking up earlier can help with the premium juice. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
tough,
it
but
is
that's what will
tough.
set you apart.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you want
that's true.
exceptional results, do exceptional actions.
Yes, that's true. Wow, that's the sentence for this video then. Jeremy, that's all the time we have. I highly appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being such an amazing person. Everyone else who's watching this, you have Jeremy's links all in the description down below. Do follow him over on LinkedIn. Check his website, check his podcast, right? Because, the more podcasts, the better. And yeah, Jeremy, thank you so much. You're such an amazing guy. I hope you're having an amazing year. And please come back to the podcast in the future. We can talk more about video games in the next episode. That's gonna be a very nice one.
I'll be happy to. Well, thank you again for having me, Victor. Appreciate
You're
it.
the best. Thank you. And for everybody else, see you in the next video. Bye bye.